Hi BookTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to do a tag video. I discussed this in my last Vlogmas video that I was going to do a tag video. I never do tag videos. One, tag videos don't get watched very often, so I also discussed how I don't really mind how many subscribers I have, but I do mind how many viewers watch my videos. That's two different things, like subscriber count and view count. I don't want to make a video that people absolutely despises, and tag videos never get any love. But I was tagged by Dane Cobain. I believe his channel link down below, and I always feel bad because I've been tagged numerous times in the past 4 years, and I never do the tags that I'm tagged in because I forget, or it's the same kind of tag and it's been saturated throughout BookTube, and you know, so many people have already done it. I didn't feel like my input would be you know, helpful to anyone, but this one is fun because it kind of correlates to the discussion video I made yesterday, and this tag video is called the Genre Buster tag. Again, Dane's channel link will be down below. Also, the original video by Bookaxe will also be down below. So this has 7 questions in it. The first one is, do you prefer books that develop characters in depth or books with a fast-paced plot? Now, this is a kind of a 50-50. I do like my books to be, you know, my characters to be well-rounded. I want backstories. If it's not a good character, then the story itself is pretty bland, and if I don't like the characters in the book, then I don't like the book itself. That's kind of how it goes. But I also don't want just a character-driven book with no plot development. Like, I want some action to keep me engaged. Otherwise, again, it gets a little boring and stale. So yes, a little bit of both. Stephen King is a great example of really good character development. All of his characters are well fleshed out. They all have backstories. I mean, you find out what their favorite food is, what their color is like, what they read yesterday. It's like they're friends. They're your best friends. And Stephen King is an amazing author because he's able to do that. But I also like, you know, fast-paced books where there's a mystery and you're trying to solve the mystery, or survival books where, you know, scary things are happening and you don't know what's going to come next with the next page. Those things are exciting and that keeps you going. And sometimes those kinds of books are good on its own. Like, you don't need character development. I hated the characters of Gone Girl, but the plot and the cat and mouse chase between the husband and the wife was so good that I didn't really mind that they were just terrible human beings and that there wasn't a huge backstory to those characters. All right, number 2, do you prefer lighthearted, optimistic books or books that explore the darker side of life? Again, I kind of addressed this in my last video. I absolutely love optimistic, light books, but then I also like dark books. Now, if it's fictional dark, I don't want to read realistic dark. That's 2 different things. I want to read monsters. I don't want to read about dead babies and rape and poverty. That's a whole nother level. Like, keep me in the fictional zone because the other dark is just too depressing for me, and I read for fun. So lighthearted books can also be amazing, you know, when you pick up a humor book and it's got a whole bunch of jokes in it and it, you know, makes you happy. Or can you see? Oh, you can't see it. Howl's Moving Castle. What's the author? By Jones, Diana Wayne Jones. That is the best book ever. It made me smile throughout the entire book. It is so cute, and if you like Studio Ghibli, you're gonna love that book. I mean, Howl's Moving Castle is one of my favorite animated movies. I just absolutely loved the story, and so yeah, that's lighthearted and optimistic. It was a fun read. Number 3, do you prefer books that get straight to the point or books that challenge language and style? I don't really know what this means. There are books that I've read where they beat around the bush and they don't tell you what's going on, and then I feel like I'm lost, you know, in a cave with no lights. Like, where am I going? What is going on here? How do I get out of this situation? But also, you know, to the point books are sometimes can be boring because there's no variety. There's nothing, the path is straightforward, and you know, you can see it. So I want to be surprised, but I also don't want to be confused. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. All of these answers are going to be in the middle, which I'm sorry for that. All right, number 4, do you prefer books that introduce you to new ideas and issues or books that purely aim to entertain? Now, again, another point that I mentioned in my last video, I am strictly an entertainment reader. I did the whole reading for school. I went to college. I had to do those kinds of reading. I don't want to read about things that are going to make me upset. And that might be shallow of me, but I just, you know what I mean? Like I can read the news. I can be involved in my community and in certain aspects of life, but I don't want to sit down after a long hard day and the kids bugging me and my husband, you know, yada yada. I don't want to sit down and read about, you know, terrible things about, you know, I can't even like give you an example because I try to stay away from that stuff. And again, ignorance is not always bliss, but in my mind, if I'm going to sit down and relax, I don't want to be upset and sad and depressed about situations that happen outside of what I can help. I can't do much. I'm just one individual. And yeah, so I don't want to read about that stuff. Strictly entertainment purposes. Number 5, do you enjoy books with graphic descriptions of violence, swearing, etc., or actively avoid them? I never actively avoid violent books besides A Clockwork Orange, because I read American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis, and that one was torture porn to the max. I had to skim through some of the torture scenes because I was like, whoa. I mean, I don't mind a bit of beating up and some F-bombs, but I don't need batteries from cars attached to nipples. Like, that's just going a little too far. That's a little nuts, you know? And A Clockwork Orange, a lot of people have told me that it's very violent, and I don't seek out violence. If it's in my books and it helps the story along, I don't mind reading it. I like to I like to watch like martial arts movies where there's all these great action scenes. John Wick is amazing, and he's just shooting people in the face, and that's fun and entertaining to me. But visually and reading is two different things, because you can get a little bit more graphic when it comes to writing. So yeah, I love cussing because I'm a sailor in my everyday life. But again, I don't like look for the worst books possible to read and then get like high off of that. There's your answer. Number 6, do you typically go for specific genres and why? And again, I talked about this. I think while I was making that video, I was thinking of this tag video. I like my horror, paranormal, and thrillers because I like scary. I like feeling anxious while I'm reading. It's just like watching a horror film. I want those kinds of feelings while I'm reading. And with paranormal, that's just, you know, to me, that's like a cozy read when you get to learn about supernatural and ghosts. And because I'm so fascinated and interested with the afterlife, that paranormal just suits me well. When it comes to other genres, like historical fiction's great because then you get to learn about the genres that I like, with the horror, the thrillers, and like mystery and paranormal. You can read that in a historical fiction setting. So historical fiction is perfect because it's just the exact same thing I like, but in the past. Science fiction, you can do the same thing. You can have a sci-fi horror. I talk about Event Horizon all the time. That is my favorite sci-fi horror movie. So you can still have my subgenres within another genre and it still be great. Same thing goes with contemporary. I like dark contemporary where there's like mental health or someone's battling emotional issues. Like that kind of contemporary is something that I am interested in reading, but I don't want to read romance. I did that in the past. I would just, when I was younger in my early 20s, I just picked up random books from the library. I didn't really care. And I've read a handful of romantic comedies, of romance suspenseful books, romance thrillers, and I've come to realize that a lot of adult romance is strictly based on sex, which I'm not interested in reading about, and YA romance is all about almost sex, which I'm not interested in. I mean, I want to know the gritty of, you know, of the horror and the thrillers. And so, yeah. Oh, I just remembered another book that I will not read, and that's like The Girl Next Door, I think. Something like that, where a girl is being put in a basement and her aunt is supposed to be watching her, and the aunt, you know, chains her up and has like neighborhood kids come and like burn her with cigarettes and like torture her. That I don't want to read about torture. Like that's just not my thing. So there you go with that question. And my very last question, number 7, is what is your favorite genre busting book? Now, I'm going to talk you guys to death about this series. You have heard me say something about this almost every single video, and I'm going to say it again. Only because I am still invested. I was listening to this on the way to drop my son off this morning at school. This is the Dark Tower series. I just have the Gunslinger here, but I do have all 5 books that I'm currently have read or am reading. Okay, so the first genre that this book is it's fantasy, because it's based on a world that is made up by Stephen King. It has sci-fi elements because there are different versions of Earth. There's like a time travel. There's these doors that you can go through to get to different worlds. And it's not like an alien world. It's not like super sci-fi, but it's enough sci-fi to get you places. There's these wizard glass, these balls, like crystal balls, that also can do the same thing. There's this thing called Toadash that again allows you to go through a time slip where you can go to the past and to the future and to different versions of reality. That's all very sci-fi. And then we have the contemporary, because it's set in a real world. Contemporary means here. So our main characters are from New York, but from different time periods of New York. There's the 60s, the 80s. Both of them I think are in the 80s. The 60s and the 80s. So there is that contemporary aspect. There is a camaraderie, a great friendship. So if you want to have like a adventure story, this is very much an adventure story because our main characters have to travel a far distance to reach their goals. It's a mystery because we don't know who the the wizard is in this book. The man in, not the man in black, but the head evil mastermind behind all of the bad things that have happened to Roland. It's a mystery. We don't know. We don't know what the Dark Tower is. We haven't gotten there yet. So it's very suspenseful because we have to continue to fight these monsters. So it's a horror book. We have the haunted house that Jake has to walk through. We have the demon that Susanna has to deal with. We have, again, Black 13, which is a wizard's glass that has demonic entities like swirling within that create chaos and destruction and feed off of negativity and fear. So it's got all of these genres, and okay, yes, maybe a touch of Western. We have a gunslinger. He kind of dresses like an outlander. He's got the leather and the guns and the boots, and there is a a desert that he walks through, and in every single story he, like Eddie describes his backstory as a Western. And I don't like saying that because I don't want people to not pick this up, because it's not your typical yippee-ki-yay, I'm a cowboy, I'm going to shoot some bandits Western. That's not what it is. So if you haven't picked up the Dark Tower series, please pick it up. There are 2 more books left in this series. I am going to continue to read them starting next year, and I will be announcing my read-along for Stephen King for 2018 in an upcoming video, so there's a little sneak peek on that. So if you haven't been following me through my Stephen King journey for the last 2 years, I'm going to start again in 2018. All right, that was my tag video. I hope you enjoyed that. I know that I don't do them very often on this channel, but hopefully that was informative. I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.